Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast from Backlot Banter where we view and review every single Best Picture winner. And that is what we are here to talk about today because we have a brand new winner last night.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Winter
has happened, has come.
It has
Winter
already
has come.
arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Summer's next.
Bowser is coming, I think, too, right?
Bowser is coming. To Kamala's chagrin.
Today, we're talking about, of course, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which took home the big prize just last night at the Academy Awards. They didn't just take home the top prize, though. Quite a number of other awards were handed out to the film, and a pretty tame ceremony, I would say. They did not...
Comparatively to last year.
Yeah, they made a point of it.
Yeah, they really were.
There was a bear.
There was a bear. That is true.
Yeah.
There was a bear. But today, we have a new challenge. We've been on our side quest.
A bear of a challenge.
Really, yeah. We've been trying to look at all the nominees, but now that the nominees don't matter, because Everything Everywhere All at Once took home the prize, we have to
Never think
figure
about
out.
any of those other movies again.
Never, ever. We've got to put this movie on the big giant list and sort out this any differences, any ties, anything really that comes up.
Anything really.
Anything, anywhere.
All at once.
Yep.
Well, hopefully not
Every
all at once.
time.
Hopefully we can let each other talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we
Hopefully.
are in person.
We are in person.
Yeah.
That needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So we'll talk over each other just because
In person
we don't
episode.
respect each other.
It's,
We
it's no
don't-
longer Zoom's fault.
No. It's all our own fault.
It's just obvious.
Yeah.
Banter, why don't you read out the wins and noms?
Sure. Tucker, if you want to does anyone get a comment pulled up on our most recent
I
Quest
don't,
episode
but if you do noms,
No,
then
it's
I'll...
my job.
Oh, wins and noms. Here we go. Okay.
Wins and noms.
So now, Everything Everywhere All at Once is our 95th Best Picture winner.
Yes.
Yeah.
It also won Best Original Screenplay from Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. Best Achievement in Directing from Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert.
These guys got their grubby hands all over this
And
thing.
they really do. Performance by an actress in a leading role from Michelle Yeoh. Performance by an actress in a supporting role, Jamie Lee Curtis. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Performance by an actor in a supporting role, Ke Kwan. Achievement in Directing by Paul Rogers. It was nominated in the following categories, but did not win them.
Wait,
Achievement
directing again?
What?
What?
I said editing.
No, you did not. You had directing. but-
Excuse me. Film editing,
Yes.
Paul Rogers.
Yes, that makes more sense.
Nominated in the following categories, but did not win them. Original score by Son Lux. Original song written for a motion picture for This Is a Life by David Byrne and Mitski. Stephanie Sue was nominated for actress in a supporting role. It was also nominated for Best Costume Design.
Yep.
7 wins out of 11 nominations.
Yeah. Which is the
Pretty-
most of both of those categories.
Yeah.
Winning and nominating.
Yeah, it is the most winningest movie and the most nominated. film.
Nominating is the movie.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
nominated.
Yes.
I want to read a comment from our treasured son, John Tor, and I
Yeah.
want to read it from The Fablemans because half of the
Wait,
nominees...
what's that? I don't remember that movie.
Yeah.
Didn't win.
That's exactly the point. 5 of the nominees, Tanner, you probably have it top of your head, did not get any awards.
Elvis, Banshees, Triangle of Sadness,
Tar.
Tar, and
Fablemans.
Fablemans.
Yes.
Dang. Crazy.
After Sun didn't get anything either.
No.
That's
Just
true.
to throw it out
Neither
there.
did Living.
Neither did Babylon.
Neither did Babylon.
Big
Neither did
upset
Babylon.
there.
No
Yeah.
score. But John Tor says, and there's a lot of O's here, so bear with me, loved this one.
Oh, I see.
Spielberg's heart and sweetness can be just a bit too much at times, but this was just perfect. I so related to his family, the 3 sisters, the parents breaking up. Loved that John Ford scene. I think this is my favorite. 9.2 out of 10.
Hope it wins nothing.
Oh, come on, John
Thanks.
Tor.
Oh, you
Why did
did
you
it.
say that?
So many thoughts, but I don't have the time. The Academy ceremony starts in literally 2 hours and 44 minutes, and I have to watch women talking first.
Well, he has plenty of time.
Well, hopefully he was
John
able
Tor,
to fit it in.
let us know if he did.
He did, and he left a comment on
Oh,
it.
did he? Okay.
I believe.
Alright.
On women talking?
Unless I'm losing my marbles.
God, who knows?
Impossible to
There's
check.
no way to know.
Wait, what's that movie? I don't even remember.
Yeah, honestly.
Lost time. Hey,
Well,
that got an award, though.
That one did get
Oh,
an
no, I
award.
remember
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah. All right, enough being jocular. Let's get serious.
Okay.
Get business.
Yeah, this is a serious
Everything
movie.
Everywhere All at Once is our 95th Best Picture winner.
Yes.
And Tucker, it's your second favorite film of all time.
Yes, it
I
is.
need to know how you feel about it first.
This is the most satisfied I've ever been at an awards show for multiple reasons across the awards show. My favorite lead performance of all time, my favorite acting performance of all time with Brendan Fraser in The Whale won. I was very worried that was not going to happen. I thought Austin Butler had it in the bag, and I counter predicted myself. I was like, hey, if Butler wins and I predict it, at least I've had predicting it. But if I don't predict it, then I'll have lost both ways.
Yeah.
So I counter predicted that a bunch, as I mentioned in our predictions video. So that was great. And across the board, this movie winning is it's surreal to me. Of course, that's been the track record for this season. It has been winning everything all at once.
It is the most awarded film of all time, which I don't think we addressed.
Yeah, that is
158 awards. Now add 7 to that.
Yes.
So 100.
10.
That's not right. 165 now.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's Return of the King next.
Yes.
And do you know the differential roughly?
Return of the King is at like 106. I don't
Yeah,
think it cracked
110.
110.
Okay,
Wow.
so
But even if you, because people analyze this, even if you take away like the awards bodies that were added since Return of the King, it still wins.
Yeah,
it's
and
still
even if you limit it to only the award ceremonies that nominated both of them.
yes. But anyway, Tucker, get to the heart of why you find this win so surreal and your real thoughts on this as his best picture winner now.
Because Daniels as a directing duo have meant a lot to me for years now. Even before I saw Everything Everywhere at Once, I was one of the OGs. I was there. Daniel Kwan, Daniel Shiner, you're watching this. I know. I love you.
Yeah.
Swiss Army Man was in my top 5 favorite movies.
Do you
ever
recall,
since I saw
Tucker,
it.
upon this very couch, you and I
Yes,
sat and
right
watched
here.
that movie?
Yeah, lots of
we're on that
lots of
stain.
things happened.
Yeah.
Right on that stain, yeah. And I've seen Swiss Army Man 4 or 5 times, and I've also seen Everything Everywhere at Once 4 or 5 times. And because of their brand of humor, the style that fuses comedy with drama with surrealism, I never expected the quote unquote sequel, the follow up to Swiss Army Man, to be anything. Really?
Yeah.
And it's apparently everything. Being one of the highest winning films of the last like 15 years at the Oscars. I think the next one back is Slumdog Millionaire in 2008.
Wow.
And the only one that like goes far beyond that is something in 2004 or 5 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Crash.
No, certainly not Crash. It's one of the early 2000s movies. And I always thought that me liking Swiss Army Man and showing it to people, I showed it to my uncle, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" That's the reaction that I expected everything everywhere all at once to get. And then people started liking it and started winning and not being nominated for things and
Shot to
winning
the top of the
things, and
letterbox 250, sat
Yeah.
there for a while.
It was number 1, right?
For a
For a
while,
bit,
yeah.
yeah. And it's floating in like 5 to 15 range, I think, right now. But it makes me feel like I'm justified in my movie taste, which doesn't happen very often because I am one to like Batman and Robin and Friday the 13th Part 9 and like just a bunch of really weird things that most people don't like. And this, it validates me. And that feels very nice. And I still was holding out like a hole of dread that it wasn't going to happen, that it was going to lose screenplay to Banshees, and Kate's probably going to win actress, and directing, well, okay, they probably got directing, but no, let's see if that's strong enough. And it got all of them. It won all those awards.
Yeah.
So, and being, I think, also winning the most above the line categories in Oscars history with 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it won 3 acting awards, which has barely ever happened, obviously. So, yeah, I'm happy with this, I would say.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's fair.
Is that a good summation?
That's a good summation, Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy?
Well, who else would like to go?
I can go.
Okay, go ahead, Timo.
We've talked about this a bit about this specific movie, but I really like what this has to say about the Academy and their thinking about cinema and what movies are valuable and important and where films can go looking forward. I think the Daniels last night spoke about their knowledge. One of them
Yes.
was when he was up there giving one of his speeches.
Just
talked
say
about
Daniel.
Daniel.
When Daniel said,
Yeah,
Yes,
I
he
think
said
it was Daniel.
Daniel said that they were very conscious of the internet and the way that modern society and culture is chooses to represent itself and then gets represented in movies. I think that these guys just kind of know how modern people are thinking and the sensibilities of modern audiences are represented, and especially younger audiences. I think this film really plays well to people our age and even younger who wrestle with a lot of different feelings than the people like Spielberg. Spielberg, in his thinking about his anxieties in the world, is I think fundamentally at a different spot in his
and
mind
that ends up
state.
with him making Munich or The Post or whatever.
And so the Daniels are in the contemporary mind space of young, hip, cool, intelligent Oscar viewers like ourselves.
You look at Daniel Scheinert and you're like,
That's
that
a cool
man's
guy.
cool.
Cool.
I say that.
Yeah.
Not well.
Well, lots of people think he's
After
a
tonight, he's cool.
well, he's
Or
a
not
he's a-
tonight.
he's
Yes,
a,
tonight.
Well, he's a
When we
thrift
do our-
store dressing individual. That's cool
Yeah.
with the kids nowadays.
He's got the
Yeah.
glasses with the thing that goes
Yeah,
on the
exactly. It's that exact same type of like that relation to what people are liking and looking like and feeling like nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
just
I-
want to note real quick that if you recall, a year ago, Everything Everywhere premiered as the opening night film at South by Southwest. And today I'm at the festival.
Yeah.
And before the movie that I saw,
back. Wait,
they
what,
got
what premiered first this year? What will be the next best picture?
Dungeons
Dungeons and
Dragons.
Dragons.
Let's go!
the new Best Picture game. So South by Southwest is patting themselves
Yeah.
on the back for that programming decision because that is where the movie got its start.
absolutely,
And I think that, it's surprising and admirable to see a film come out so early in the year, maintain that speed and the
Only gain momentum.
yeah
Yeah.
and remain relevant and have
Yeah.
people talk about it for months and months and months.
Well, I was remarking about this at Tanner this morning. Well, Lazy Bones is in bed still.
guy.
I had my little nightcap on.
Yeah.
I actually had pajamas that go all the way down my body, and they end at the feet as well.
Yeah.
With his little candle by the bed. We were talking about how back when the film came out and we were all seeing it, this sort of joking refrain of, but it's not getting nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And it felt the same way about Top Gun Maverick, but most salient to this conversation, Everything Everywhere. And I think the more distance I get from the film, and especially after my rewatch, I grow colder on the movie, not anywhere below liking the movie a lot.
Yeah.
But I think it's being crystallized a little bit by what you're saying, Timo, of like, I don't relate to like the young person's headspace in a lot of ways. So I think there's like a
Yeah, these guys 10 years older than you.
yeah.
They do.
There's like for me, there's a distance between the tone and the humor of Everything Everywhere and kind of how it hits me.
Sure.
But nonetheless, I like the idea that it hit the Academy, whether it hit them and they received it or was a brick through the window. The fact that this is what they wanted to recognize, I think, is important. So it was nowhere near, I mean, relative to 10 films, it was near my favorite, but there were several above it that I wanted to win more. But I don't think any of them would have mattered in the way that this film winning mattered.
Yeah.
And now that I no longer have to fight for my life to get other movies in our personal ranking higher than Everything Everywhere,
Yeah.
we can
You
reflect.
succeeded once,
Yeah,
Top Gun.
yeah. We can reflect on it, I think, and say that yes, if you look at the Oscars as what they are, which is not a barometer for quality, but a barometer for culture, or whatever you want to call the barometer for, this was the film to win.
Those are my thoughts exactly. Is that at the end of the day, in the oeuvre of Best Picture winners, the 95 years that we've had, looking at our 10 for this year, there is no other film that I would have rather have seen win. Because this seems I'm not the first one to say it's the most different, it's the most fresh, it's the most unique, it's the most modern. It is the most seemingly futuristic in the way that in how it is using film and writing and performance and all of these things. I mean, we see it's multiversal, and these are concepts that are being introduced to the modern audience right now. But it is inspired by internet culture, as we analyzed in our review, and how the Daniels have said multiple times in their speeches and whatnot. So
And is like painfully obvious in the movie itself.
yeah, exactly.
The text displays the.
And so, I think culturally it just makes sense that this is the Best Picture winner. And that can't be said of every single Best Picture winner. The Academy has gotten it wrong a lot of times.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to have they don't seem to have gotten it wrong here. And I think it's interesting, at least to speculate. And we don't have to do this here, but people on Twitter have been doing it already on the bold new direction that this means for the Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something interesting that I thought about a lot. And where do you draw that line for the bold new direction? And for me, it's Moonlight. And why I will not put the onus on Everything Everywhere to be the transition point, because I do think that if you look at the early 2010s lineup that includes the King's Speech and Argo, and movies that I like but don't feel modern in the same way. And frankly, some of them feel kind of backwards looking. The King's Speech could have been a 90s Miramax picture that wouldn't feel out of place.
And like, I think the Academy a year or two ago took a poll, and like, yeah, in retrospect, The Social Network was the obvious choice in that 2010 lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And this
think,
choice will not age poorly, which I think is something that you can not say about a lot of Best Picture winners, especially as we continue to look back and be like, wow, that beat Vertigo or like whatever.
Yeah.
But the Moonlight line I draw because Moonlight, Shape of Water, Nomadland,
Green
Coda,
Book.
Green Book being the outlier. Green Book being the outlier. I think there's definitely a tonal shift there towards the indie and the personal in a different kind of way. And Everything Everywhere All at Once does, for me, kind of feel like the culmination of this. A movie that comes from I think maybe a lower budget than most of the compared to Moonlight or something.
What I will always bring up the Louis B. Mayer quote about the purpose of the Oscars and the fusion of art and business. And you think about Moonlight as an A24 movie that really that is an extremely artistic piece and plays much like a Coda or a Nomadland does as a small movie and as a like. Moonlight gained a critical reception worthy of such a quality film, but I feel like the Academy then after picked these smaller movies like Nomadland that to me seems a very pessimistic, very COVID-informed choice that they were not happy with where the world was.
We were railing against Amazon at the time, and all these
we still
things.
are.
Yeah.
But the Academy now, I think, in reflecting its move towards a they're going back towards a business friendlier lineup in picking films like Avatar and Top Gun, and films that you cannot argue that this year's nominees were not commercially viable films.
Yes.
I think like
for the first time in a long time.
Not all of them.
Someone from the LA Times did try to say that no one cares about the
Ironically.
Oscars because no one saw any of the movies when the Best Picture lineup made over $4 billion in the box office.
I think our fusion, and in looking at it at a more micro level with Everything Everywhere, it is still a small movie, but it still did very well in the theaters, and it still showed that, like, you know, a movie can be good and still make money and still be worthy of. I think that there is merit to the Oscars rewarding films that do well commercially and taking not just a solitary artistic approach, which I felt like has led them to the wobbliness of the two previous years. But this year to me feels like they've balanced, stabilized the boat a little bit, and the boat rocking has seemed to subside, and we're in a maybe the beginning of a stable period. We really the future hard to know.
I also really like Everything Everywhere, as you guys are saying, as sort of a cultural lens into the moment. I mean, this is a strange comparison to draw, but when we talked about Miss Miniver, we're talking about it as American World War II propaganda.
Yeah.
Now, this is not propaganda for anybody.
Or Midnight Cowboy as the angsty sort of 70s, 80s
1969, where we are after the Hays Code has sort of sunsetted.
We want to put the weird stuff in films that they wouldn't have allowed earlier.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to draw both of those into comparison because I think in the case of Miss Miniver, I think when you look at this film with the distance that we had from Miss Miniver, it'll be an interesting.
It will reveal a lot about how we think today that maybe we aren't fully able to read into the film just yet.
And when you watch this video in 95 years,
Exactly.
And at the same time, to your point, Timo, what's nice about this lineup to me is even if I have issues with Avatar, the refrain amongst all the people I saw Avatar with is, isn't this so much better than what Disney is giving us? Now, I'm not trying to shit on what Disney's doing.
Disney
a little bit
is doing Avatar.
Marvel
Marvel Disney.
because
Marvel and Walt Disney and whatever.
The point being,
Star
though, the point being,
Stand down, Tucker. Stand down.
the Academy is picking the examples of quote unquote trendy blockbuster that have an artistic lens to it. And I do think by the same light as you're saying from earlier, Tanner, the way that Everything Everywhere interpolates these ideas of a multiverse, interpolates these sort of genre fusions and this quippy, but in this case, far more earnest script.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting look back onto an era defined by this sort of blockbuster Hollywood filmmaking.
Yeah.
Through a lens that I think has a lot more going on by merit of itself, not as a piece of a cinematic universe or as this or as that, but as a self-contained reflection on not only current cultural sentiment, but current trends in popular filmmaking.
Well, until we get everything everywhere all at twice.
All at twice.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about. There are,
Daniels, hire me.
There are two things that I really think are fascinating about this. We've had a great conversation thus far.
Yeah.
It's about to get better.
This is actually like more simple conversation. I thought because these are my thoughts, obviously. But we've had a great conversation thus far about how it fits into how it might fit into the Best Picture winners lineup in the coming years. But immediately after its win this morning, two thoughts really occurred to me. One is that, just speaking plainly, the Daniels are now like Oscar-winning directors, and whatever films they make in the future are probably likely to be in the awards conversations going forward.
Interesting. That's a lot of
They
pressure.
have the most winningest film of all time.
The most
so whatever
winningest.
they make next is gonna be there.
Well, it does set them up for potentially their own Babylon, which is here is 100 million.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want with it. Yeah.
It's interesting. That is certainly a possibility, but knowing the track record of these guys and the air that they put on the stage about how they differ from your average Hollywood director, and knowing a lot about the production behind the scenes, I think that they recognize the strength of a smaller budget and the creativity that is pushed by having those limitations. Especially because they're so much more earnest than your average directors. They know that what they're doing is weird and not everyone's going to like it, and it's reflecting their histories and their personalities in a way that I don't think a lot of directors are open with. And even though it's possible for them to do a Babylon that is gigantic and flops to the box office and
is amazing.
and we all love Babylon here. That is not a problem. And it should have won score.
True.
All around.
Yes.
Same.
Of course. Atrocious, I'll even say.
But is that their production style of having a warm-up every morning and having everyone stand in a circle and like pat each other on the back and like do a chant, like these elements of connecting to the cast, I think they can avoid their quote-unquote sophomore slump by their next
Even
movie
though this is their sophomore
will not,
film.
Junior slump.
let's call it that. By doing what they do best, and I think they have the wherewithal to not let this go to their heads.
Sure.
I agree with you completely. I'm more saying
Their
that
collective head.
No, I'm
Yeah.
I'm more saying, to Tanner's point, they suddenly have a door open to them.
Yeah.
They probably have that kind of budget open to them. They have
absolutely.
those expectations put upon them.
I think that A24 will probably bankrupt themselves trying to fund their next film.
What was your other thought? Because you said you had two thoughts.
My other thought is simply just this is as we've said multiple times, most winningest film, broke Oscars history by winning the most above the line records, and does this indicate that the Oscars are more inclined to movies sweeping at the Oscars? Because personally, and this is my thoughts on the whole ceremony, I thought that all the winners were great, but I'm also a fan of spreading the love because I love each of the films that were nominated, especially all the Best Picture nominees. I think they're all great, and I do lament a little bit that half of them went home empty-handed. Five films that I adore. Well,
to varying degrees.
Yeah, to
9
varying
films.
degrees. 4 films that I adore went home empty-handed, and of course I'm not saying that we're gonna get an Everything Everywhere All at Once every year.
No.
This is a landmark
anomaly.
film. It's an anomaly of a film. But we are potentially opening the door to more sweeping happening because, as someone pointed out on Twitter.com, I don't know if you're familiar, audience.
Source, Twitter.com.
This year and last year we had 3 films that were the multiple awarded films. We had the lovable Best Picture winner, the crowd-pleasing Best Picture winner this year, Everything Everywhere. Last year, Coda. The technical achievement, which was this year All Quiet on the Western Front, last year Dune.
And Dune got 6.
Dune got-
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, and we also had the actor makeup combo, which this year was The Whale, and last year was
Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Eyes of Tammy Faye. So there seems to be a pattern going here, and two is maybe not a hard pattern, but it seems to be growing.
It's interesting to think about what that might stand as in the future as an outlier for being a sweeper, and that not happening almost at all in this century, but did happen more in the past, is we look back at those films like Return of the King and Ben-Hur and Titanic and like, yeah, these are the best movies of all time. They're
Yeah.
going to top every list. Every time you're going to see them. And will Everything Everywhere All at Once gain that reputation over the years because it's the only one that's been able to recapture the glory days of cinema? Remember when the Oscars were so cool that they give everything to one movie, and Ben-Hur would just clear the way, and who the hell cares about the rest of these movies? There definitely is a sentiment that a movie winning a ton is impressive and worthy of respect, and puts those movies up in those upper echelon, every best movie all the time lists, and Everything Everywhere could enter that over time. And it'll be interesting to watch that happen as we are so into film as we are, because there are definitely people who see this movie and say, that's recency bias. That is not going to stand the test of time. People are going to forget about it. It's too weird. But I, as someone who loves this movie and will be championing it probably for the rest of my life, I champion being the catalyst for change. Is a movie comes out and yeah, there's recency bias involved, but someone has to be the one to say, no, actually this is one of them. This does stand up there with Ben-Hur and Return of the King, and I think it's better than both of those.
Well, the thing is that even that is that's not unpopular. It won Best Picture.
Sure.
There's not one person who's saying that. Lots of people were saying that. They were saying it for a full year, and they were saying it hard enough and loud enough that it won Best Picture.
Yes, sure.
There's another point, though, too, in that Al Naz was saying in the Discord, which I agree with,
Shout out.
that when
Link in the description. Join it.
when Silence of the Lambs was sweeping, he remembered watching it as a kid and be like, this is boring. I was just getting everything.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks to what we do, which is we get together at Timo's house and we drink hard seltzer and we yell at the TV
Yeah.
and we watch the Oscars as an event. But when we're doing Quest for the Bestest and we're looking back on a film like Silence of the Lambs, and we go, wow, it won all of these things. At a certain
Absolutely deserved. Of course, this is incredible.
at a certain point, the show of the Oscars and a film winning a lot of Oscars are different things. There's an entertainment value to there's an entertainment value to spreading the love around in the ceremony.
Yeah.
But there's also a sort of, to your point, Tucker, about legacy and growing legacy.
Yes.
There's also a purpose to saying in 20 years, look back at all these awards that Everything Everywhere won. But I do agree with you, Tanner, and you're raising the point about like, there should be an award for stunt filmmaking.
Yes.
You're totally right. Because I watch so many films that have so much great physical acting. John Wick, Mission Impossible, getting both this year. Finally, movies are back.
Movies are back
Funny
again.
thing,
Apparently-
Everything Everywhere All at Once could have won that category.
It very well, I also thought about that. Is that if there was a stunt category, it probably would have won there too.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that the idea should be...
And if there's a casting category, it could have won that.
Yeah.
And this should be, I think, a different conversation we have about just improving the Oscars in terms of breadth. But there are awards you could introduce.
Make it longer.
Make it longer.
Make it longer.
Bring back double sound. Bring back.
There are things you could do to increase the breadth in a way that will, Everything Everywhere Else notwithstanding, allow more films in just by merit of like the quote-unquote Oscar movie probably doesn't have extensive stunt work the way that a Christopher McQuarrie film does, right?
And you don't have to have Jimmy Kimmel telling the audience, hey, also go watch The Woman King and Till, even though they weren't nominated here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good guy, Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Well, and some,
take it easy on Jimmy Kimmel doesn't
for
have a... I mentioned it at the end of the our predictions video. Just go back and watch the end of that.
Yeah.
I mentioned why maybe not good guy Jimmy Kimmel.
Let's think about some of these specific awards for a minute.
Okay.
And let's think about the most contentious one, of course, being Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And what's interesting about her win, of course, is that Jamie Lee Curtis is one of the actors.
Yes.
I think so.
And this was her first award. So just in the way there's a great narrative for our other winners, there's a great narrative for her too. But was that the performance to take it? You know what I mean? And I think this sort of speaks to the intersection of the Oscars of quality and of narrative and of culture. And when you've got like 1 to 2 of those Do you deserve it? Should it go to somebody else?
It happens.
It's a complicated conversation.
It happens every year, and that's really. I think this is what we'll look back at this as is. We had a longtime beloved actor from the industry, a nepotism baby, as is quite common, a word to be phrase to be thrown around on the internet nowadays.
Nepo baby.
Yeah, nepo baby. That the Academy loves. Everyone in Hollywood loves her. She was in a Best Picture winning film. So of course they gave her like a award for her entire career, basically.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone who would contend that this is an award purely for her role in this film.
No, right.
It's an award for Jamie Lee Curtis, and they
For
do that
Halloween.
it's an award for Halloween and all
They're
these
like,
things.
we should have given that.
In
best
Freaky
picture.
Friday, in True Lies, all these great films. And you know what? We get
Activia commercials.
Activia commercials. We get one of those they're very common that they've become a joke about the Academy Awards. So ultimately, looking back on it in years to come, I'll be like, okay, it happens. It's just another one of those, frankly.
But also probably better her than Carrie.
Oh, then
Carrie
Condon?
Taking.
Oh.
If you have to pick.
I voted for Carrie. I wanted
Yeah.
Carrie Condon to
Well,
win.
I think it's interesting is the narrative that this creates and versus the other narratives that the other winners would have created. This is an interesting one. It creates an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But even though narratively, I think she's more interesting than Carrie winning, I don't think there would be many people that would contend that Jamie gave the better performance over Carrie.
Yeah.
Or Stephanie Hsu.
But the
was my
interesting
vote.
thing about narrative is I would say she's number 4 out of 5 for narrative because you talk about Angela Bassett, Hao Chong, and Stephanie Hsu.
Hong Chao.
They all,
Yeah, you said her name. It's
okay.
fine.
Hong
Don't worry
Chao.
about it.
Keep
Yeah.
going. Keep going.
did I say it twice? What the hell?
No, you said her name wrong. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Narrative.
Narrative
I'll pick
is,
a
is
better
that
narrative.
is that they all gave stronger performances, have the stronger narrative of being women of color in these strong roles. 2 of them being surprise nominations of Hong Chao and Stephanie Hsu getting in. It's like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened. That they would have been more memorable going into the future rather than. Guess they gave it to Jamie Lee because she had been around since Halloween. So narratively, there's only I think she's boosted by not necessarily only her narrative, but more the Best Picture winning narrative.
Yeah.
I do think that she has a very interesting role in the film. I think that that whole weird side story that we go on in Everything Everywhere with the sausage fingers and the like realization of on Michelle Yeoh's character part where she basically figures out that like it's possible to be happy in any given circumstance, even in this totally ridiculous one. And the way that Jamie Lee Curtis plays a tender and loving figure in that relationship, albeit sort of fictional. I mean, it's another multiverse. So is it really real or not? I don't know. But I think
it's a movie.
Whoa.
that Jamie Lee Curtis does give a noteworthy performance in
absolutely.
Everything Everywhere, and is helped out by the ridiculousness of the conception of her character. And so, would I wanted someone else to win? I think so, but I can logicize it and justify it. I can,
I don't think it's a bad winner. I think that people will narrativize it as a bad winner of, oh, look, that she won over these other, I personally think, more deserving roles. But when I think about that movie and I focus a little more on her performance, I think it is a deserved nomination to a certain degree. I think that that Timo's right. The narrative function that Deirdre Beaubirdre, great character name, serves in this movie, and the variance in performance that she's able to give to where you have someone at the beginning of the movie that is kind of an antagonist, kind of a villain, and over the course of the movie you learn about their flaws. Like that is also playing into the themes of the film, which is what makes it so strong. And as an iconic actress, giving a role that is totally off the charts of she's sitting there and she's schlubby at her desk and she's got butt plugs and then she's got hot dog fingers and she's diving down to like knee slam.
Yeah, she's
Michelle
doing
Yeoh in the face.
WWE luchador moves.
It's a risky performance. It is ridiculous, and she went all in on it. For the entire year, no one championed this movie harder than Jamie Lee Curtis, and honestly, she might be part of the reason why this movie won.
She was the Hollywood. Michelle Yeoh is also beloved by Hollywood, as evidenced by her Best Actress win, but not to the degree of a Jamie Lee Curtis, of course. Jamie Lee Curtis, she was a great champion of this film, much like everyone in this cast was, everyone in this crew was. They were such a cohesive unit behind the force of good that is everything, everywhere, all at once, the force of hope that it is. And yeah, I mean, I think that's nowhere better evidence than the other acting wins of this film, Michelle Yeoh and Ke Quan.
Yeah.
I mean, just listen to the cheers behind from the audience when we're showing their reels and they come up and they will tell you, they telegraphed early who's winning that award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cheers and the tears.
The cheers and the tears.
I like actually get choked up thinking about when Ke Quan goes on stage to sing his awards.
Yeah.
Not just this one. When he won his, what did he win first? I forget. Did he win?
One of them. He won basically everything.
Yeah,
BAFTA.
but when he went first, like
The
Globes.
Golden Globe.
the
Yeah.
Globe, which I did cry listening to
Yeah.
that speech, and I got close again last night because I think again it speaks to importance, and the sense it's everything from them wanting to the editor showing the timeline in Adobe Premiere of
Yeah.
making everything everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of a personal element to this film.
Yeah.
In addition to the significance of Michelle Yeoh being the first Asian American to
Yes.
win Best Lead Actress and various things, there's a personal empowerment to all of their awards. Even Jamie Lee Curtis spent so much of her speech saying that this award is for us, it's for you.
Yeah.
There was a real sense that these awards mean a lot to these people, but these people want to pay forward what they got.
Yeah.
And
Which honestly, I could count on maybe one hand the amount of times you get that out of an Oscar speech.
Yeah.
It's usually like, thank you. I'd like to thank my family. And Miramax, and I will be back next year for the other dramatic role that I do.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we talk about Ke Quan being a fantastic winner. His comeback story is incredible. Same goes for Michelle Yeoh. I was listening to while she was on the campaign trail. She appeared on Mark Maron's podcast and basically went through her entire career with him. Talked about how she feels about her career now.
He was in To Leslie, right?
Yeah, he was in To Leslie. He was a producer on that one too. But yeah, she talks about like after she got the role in whatever Pierce Brosnan Bond movie she was in, Tomorrow Never Dies maybe. How like that was like her first big Hollywood film after doing some Asian action movies, and how like she didn't get a lot of calls after that.
Yeah.
Like she was like, this is my big Hollywood break. And then it was kind of radio silence after that because there just weren't those roles anymore. And now what happened? This all Asian cast, their movie won Best Picture. She won Best Actress. We had Ke Quan winning Best Supporting Actor. All these things are happening, and it is opening the door, and it is for a lot of people, as they readily said over and over in their speeches. If we want to talk about the other awards, they're less notable in terms of what we were talking about with the actors, of course, but like. From a purely statistical standpoint, first time in 10 years that there's been an editing sound split with Everything Everywhere and Top Gun winning.
I mean, that it was pretty clear that Top Gun was going to take home the sound prize, but I
Could
was
have easily been All Quiet on the Western Front, though,
Could-
knowing
yeah,
the
well,
line sweep.
yeah. But the split, I think that we do have to think, the film with the most editing is probably Everything Everywhere. But it has good editing. I think that there are parts of the film that Abram talked about in our actual review that do feel like they drag and go on a little too long, particularly in the fight scenes. That I feel like that was our main contention with the film. But by and large, man, it's understandable. You could tell what's going on in this movie, even though, oh my God, is it ridiculous and takes place over all these multiverses, and there are different versions of the same character that are being played by the same actor, and through the editing keeps it intelligible and keeps us moving forward. And
Which is such an impossibly difficult task to manage,
Yeah.
especially when you consider the variance of the shoot of each scene might have been shot over like multiple days of shooting in different locations and different sets, and then matching those in the camera and then in the edit. Like there's so much that went on there that we talk about good editing being invisible.
Yeah.
But I honestly think I disagree, because my favorite elements of editing this year were when Elvis had split screens, and when Everything Ever All at Once has 20 of Michelle Yeoh in different crazy, ridiculous CGI costumes flashing in a moment. Like that makes me feel the power of cinema in a different way, and knowing the production behind it and the way that it turned out as well as it did, with as much crazy crap as is going on. That's like that's a win for editing. It's like, no, editing can handle this. Like,
Yeah.
you might have thought that it would have been too far, but no, they did it. They controlled it.
It's an interesting slip because you listen to everybody behind the camera or in the cast and crew talk about how the film is so empowering, and it makes something like this feel feasible for anybody. Then you watch this film and you're like, I could never.
Yeah.
How is it possible?
And I think that's a really interesting line that the film walks. There's such a level of cohesive artistry, and as you're saying, Tucker, visible technical skill that is married to a cast and crew who deserved it more than anybody.
Yeah.
And then I think that's a really powerful synthesis. So even though I was saying before the showcase, there's a chance that somebody else takes it. There's a chance, there was really no way anything other than this was going to win.
Yeah. We kind of, we reviewed this first when we, on our series, and we said, and in that video, we said.
We reviewed it before the movie was nominated.
We did review it before the movie was nominated, and in that video, you can see it. Or you can hear it too.
Yeah.
Where we say that it's going to win. Should we? I kind of want to give this a
think we gotta
score.
do it.
I think it's
We've
score
talked
time.
about everything. We talked about the writer and director Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shine a while ago. We talked about the performances, editing, everything.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. The scores.
Let's figure out where this film goes.
No, it didn't win score. Because
didn't
Blom
win.
Blom Blom won score.
That's true. Blom Blom Blom.
Fucking believe Babylon lost.
Babylon was the best score. Well,
Now, I just want to mention, because we're not going to talk about the Oscars, this last Oscars again on this channel, is if Babylon had one score, I wouldn't have any complaints with last night.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been like, okay, I guess I would have wanted Angela Bassett or Hong Chow to win for supporting actress, but whatever. But if that feels like an out of time Oscars win of like, it's winning other things, so I guess we'll give it scores. Like, no. Calm down. Listen to Justin Hurwitz's score. Probably an all-timer. You will regret this.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of the narrative will change on this. Looking back, that was a bad choice. I don't think almost any of the other awards that went to this year will be a bad choice looking back.
The other one, aside from Everything Everywhere, to just mention is actor, which went to Brendan Fraser, which is again for very similar reasons to Michelle Yeoh or whatever, a very deserved win. And I've been pulling for Austin, of course. I've also been pulling for my favorite performance of the year, which is Paul Mescal. But the thing about both of those men is they're like in their early 30s?
Yeah. Austin Butler is 30. Paul Mescal is probably 31, I think.
They're gonna fucking clean up. And
they have 35 more years to win Oscars.
So there's a feeling like that of even though
More than that if you count
Probably,
Anthony Hopkins.
They can go to
Bill
100.
Nye and James Hong.
Yeah.
so many of us pulling so hard for Austin's gonna be back.
Austin will be
Elvis
back.
Tuilashi Bulu.
Paul Mescal will be back with Gladiator 2 or whatever.
Paul Mescal might be back in the calendar year.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm actually here we go, predicting it right now. Paul Mescal will be nominated for Best Actor for Gladiator 2.
Yeah, and he also could for the 40-year Linklater picture.
Oh yeah, in like 2045 or
Check
whatever.
back
that
in
movie-
60 years.
Yeah, whenever that movie comes out.
All right. We want to
Okay.
go?
Yeah. Well,
I got my score in.
I had to punch mine in very quickly because everyone in here can read my laptop
that's true.
screen,
Oh,
which
Right.
is
My
running.
eyesight is not good enough. It's
No.
fine.
Okay, you
Absolutely
ready?
not.
3, 2,
Oh,
1, go!
Tanner, this didn't work. You have to hit. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta go. Okay, I gotta go up the square.
There we
oh,
go.
it worked.
We have a score. The film, Everything Everywhere All at Once, is going to receive a 9.3 from us. Why don't we
Okay, we
go down the line and
say
read
what our
out
scores?
our scores, yeah, since we're all here. Abram, you gave it a
Mine 8.7.
8.7.
Okay.
You gave it
It's
8.6.
8.6.
8.6.
I'm sticking by my original score that I gave this in a review. I'm going 9.3.
Yeah, I didn't change mine much to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just double checking what I gave it. I'm sticking with it also. I gave it a 9.5. So is that the same? Well, 9.3 would have to be not the same score that we gave it in the nominees show, since that film got a 9.2.
Oh,
Someone
somebody
changed.
I might have moved up or down, but I
Maybe
didn't.
so.
I was within an 8.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
9.3.
Give us a
I do
tie.
think we're going to have to deal some ties. So
Yes.
we've got two films that sit here with a 9.3.
This will determine if Everything Everywhere goes in our top 10 or not.
Wow, okay.
Because we have The Apartment and 12 Years a Slave, both at
Jeez.
Yeah.
both at 9.3.
I mean, I notoriously don't think The Apartment's that great.
Yeah.
So I obviously go Everything Everywhere.
Who votes above Apartment?
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
It doesn't matter, but I'd probably also go
recency
both.
bias. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this movie a lot. I like The Apartment a lot
I
too.
love that movie.
Yeah.
Ugh, that movie has a lot to say about contemporary America when it was made as well.
It's true. Rewatch
But
it.
now,
You might like it.
12 Years a
like
Slave. Who thinks that this movie goes above 12 Years a Slave? So it's already at number 10.
I don't know.
My score is lower for 12 Years a Slave, so I will say yes.
Above.
My numbers say I have to put it below. But
Okay.
It's been so long.
Yeah, okay.
Old Cincy bias.
I
forget film this
gave
bias.
both films the same score.
As we've been talking about behind the scenes, Tucker is working on some Abrams-specific math.
I am.
In that he's figuring out when I gave the highest score to the
I
movie,
did
when I
do
gave
that.
the lowest score to the movie, and we're also going to, at the end of the show, have me look back at my own list and see if I agree with it.
Oh, I see. That's fun. That's fun. It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
And I have to say, this is a situation wherein I don't agree with my numbers.
Okay.
And I would put this film above 12 Years a Slave.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the list, and thank God we don't have to do any further deliberation because
Yeah.
the film that's above 12 Years a Slave is Return of the King.
Wow.
It's
Wait,
shut down there.
but
No,
it's
so we have to
a-
put it above because it's more winning.
More winningest.
Return of the King has a 9.4.
That's
I
true.
don't think we
That's
can.
just how the
I don't
numbers
think we
work
can
out,
fudge
baby.
the math for that. What do you? I just don't know.
No, put it
It
up.
doesn't matter because
Yeah.
we're all above.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
You're fine.
I will just not know.
You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
I abstain.
So there you go. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once goes at number 9 on our list. 12
number
Years a
9.
Slave moves down to number 10. And there you have it.
Yeah.
It sits above 12 Years a Slave and below Return of the King.
For fun, Timo,
that
can we just get the
sucks.
top 10?
Yeah, let's remind our viewers of the top 10 of our great big quest for the bestest list, starting at the top with
We'll
an
start at 10. Build us this.
Yeah,
Oh, you're right, you're right, you're right.
You always do that. You go down to the bottom like, well, that's kind of anticlimactic.
So at number 10 is The Apartment.
Nope.
Oh.
12 Years a Slave.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Always got it.
At number 10 is 12 Years a Slave, as we
Just determined.
in
Yeah,
its
look at
new
us, guys.
spot. With a score of 9.3. Then at number 9, Everything Everywhere All at Once, the most recent addition to the list. Above that, number 8, Return of the King.
Boop.
Then we've got a 2-part back-to-back, starting with Godfather Part 2 at number 7, and Godfather Part 1 at number 6.
This is so low.
And then, above
The
that,
top 10.
think about what movies come next. Think about these next movies, okay? After Godfather, going up, is Titanic at spot number 5.
Too low.
And then Parasite.
Also too low.
And then Birdman at spot number
High.
2.
I see.
And then Schindler's List at spot number 1 with a 9.9.
Too high.
What?
What?
Okay.
Schindler's List. Too high.
Schindler's List too high?
Oh, absolutely.
Tucker, you remember the review we did for that episode?
Yeah, but that's like my 21st favorite Best Picture. winner.
Having rewatched it, I think Parasite should be back at the top of our list.
God.
That's
Well, that's
just,
what- hey,
that's just a
request.
Yeah, we'll see.
Request.
We'll see.
We'll get
Holy
there.
God,
We'll get there all.
Holiness.
We'll get there all in due time.
Full
But-
hour and a half length Parasite episode.
Well, just shut. Everyone, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. We'll get there in due time, but we gotta finish this job, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to know what we gotta talk about next.
We do have to know what we're
The
going to talk
gods
about.
of random
man.
chance have awoken from their slumber.
Oh. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have 8 films.
I believe it's 8.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's find the list.
I think it's 8. Tucker, read after when you find the list. Would you read them
Yeah,
off for us?
because we've been away from this big series from a little while. We got to remind ourselves, resituate it for our final sprint to the end.
Yes.
While Tucker's finding it, we go back to our other lovely faces.
Oh,
here.
it's
Just
on
say, Timo is a man of great equipment.
Yeah.
High quality equipment. The lav mic cable is irritating my nipple.
That's not Timo's fault, is it?
Well,
That's your
you could have
sensitive
said
nipples,
something.
after
I
all.
think I.
That's because of
Here.
Do you have nipple tape?
Yes, I do have nipple tape. I just gave it to
You know
him.
what? I just got Tucker. I beat you to it.
He's got the list.
I got the list.
Well, use my list.
No, it's mine. Actually, I made my own. Okay.
Yeah.
Going from earliest to most recent.
Yeah.
The films are the 8 remaining films: Wings, Cimarron, Cavalcade.
Those are all really old ass movies.
Those are all the old ones. The Lost Weekend.
Ooh, yes. Cannot wait for that.
All the King's Men.
I can wait for that.
Big one. Big three, actually, at the top. Forrest Gump,
Wow.
Yeah.
Braveheart,
Whoa.
and $1 Million Baby.
Oh yeah.
That's a big three.
And you know what? This is a great last lineup because it reflects everything.
Yeah.
It reflects the 50s, 60s. What the hell is this?
The
And
1920s.
the oldest shit.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of like, oh, wow, I can't believe we haven't reviewed that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Absolutely. What's it going to be?
What is it going to be?
wait. Oh, goodness gracious. Wait, we all going to do it
we do
at
it
the
in
same
unison?
Can we do it in unison?
Okay.
All right, you know
I'll
what?
count-
Just as
count
long
us
as-
down.
You will conduct us, okay? 3.
3, 2, 1.
Wheel, wheel,
what's your deal? Give us a movie that makes us squeal. Is it on digital? Is it on real? Wheel, what's your deal?
That was
The Wheels
beautiful.
deal is number 5.
Number 5.
Which is...
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We gotta get the live reaction. We gotta get the live
I'm doing the Tucker reading. As
Live
Tucker
Tucker
reads it
reaction.
on.
Of
Yeah.
Of course. I'm not even peeking.
A film starring such actors as Philip Terry, Jane Wyman, Ray Milland,
Yeah, baby.
and this will give it away because we just talked. We just said
Let's
it.
go. I know what it is.
Directed by Billy Wilder. Directed by Billy Wilder. It is the 1945 film The Lost Weekend.
Give me a beer, because this movie is all about alcoholism.
It is about alcoholism.
And it's
Jesus Christ.
not particularly subtle.
No, well, I think that's his main conflict.
Neither is
after
alcoholism.
And as you'll see in this movie, no, it is not. This is a film I have been dying to talk about
Yeah.
because it's like, I feel like it's one of the most forgotten Best Picture winners. Absolutely, nobody knows about
It's a
this
Billy
movie.
Wilder picture, and who talks about
It's,
that?
remind me of the year. It's wartime, I think.
Yeah, 45.
Early wartime. It is dark. They get around the Hays Code in creative ways. There's some.
I have heard. The only thing I know about The Lost Weekend is that it's a watered down version of alcoholism from the book. Or no, the book isn't about alcoholism necessarily, is it?
I'm gonna have to
Do your research.
We'll do our research. We'll come back to you.
I will-
Trivia boy.
Yeah, I'll do it.
This is a film that I've studied
Get
in
that funky
class.
trivia, white boy.
I mean, I took the Wilder class, so I studied all his movies. But
That's wild.
Nice.
I'm excited for it.
I'm excited too.
Yeah. Do we have any
I am
final
too.
thoughts
Talk-
about?
I haven't seen this film. Avon clearly hasn't seen this film.
No, I have not
Timo
fucking
has.
clue what
Tucker,
this is.
you seen this one before? Okay.
Is that a first?
I think that's the first time
What?
Timo has seen the
That
movie.
I've seen the
Only
film
one?
and nobody else has. Wow.
We're breaking all sorts of records, just like everything, everywhere, all at
Oh,
once.
look at us.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts before we sign off and go on to? Nobody's paying attention to the season number on the podcast services, but we'll be going into season 5.
Wow.
Why?
How does that even make sense? I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
We've taken a lot of hiatuses.
That's
No, I
true.
don't think we started after a hiatus though. We'll figure it out
Point
later.
is, this is season 5.
Don't worry. I done the math.
Last thing I want to say, Malala, we're sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry,
Right.
Malala.
We're sorry for
Sorry.
Jimmy Kimmel.
We're sorry on his behalf.
Yeah.
On behalf of all white boys, we're sorry for Jimmy Kimmel.
We're sorry.
Oh, what's the Biden quote?
B.O.B.
You
The
remember?
internet's best
wait.
white boys.
No,
I may be a white
White
boy,
boy,
but
I'm not
I ain't
stupid.
stupid. I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that, Jimmy. There's a lot of things that Jimmy's done that I wouldn't have done personally. Just personally speaking.
All right.
That's going to do it from us. We'll be back shortly to talk about the Lost Weekend and to finish out the quest for the bestest.
God, we're close.
Yep, we're
2
so
months.
close. Thanks for joining
we-
us. If we stick to our word,
Yeah.
We can do it.
we can
can
do
do
it.
it.
If we could do this, if we could do 10 movies in 2 months,
In 6 weeks, yeah. We can do it.
we got it. Until next time, stay cool, keep warm, peace.
Peace from the internet, the best white boys.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast from Back a Lot Banter, where we view and review every single Best Picture winner, and we have a new one because last night at the Academy Awards, the body of motion picture arts and sciences picked Everything Everywhere All at Once to be our brand new winner. And the Backlog crew is here to discuss this film. What did you guys think about Everything Everywhere, both as a movie and as the newest addition to the winners? Rachel, you want to start?
Good. Sure. I thought it was a very creative movie and nothing like I've ever seen before. So that's why I did. I chose it when I wrote my predictions. I chose it as the winner.
You
so-
chose wisely, yeah.
Yeah.
Anna?
Same thing. First thing, I really liked the trailer when it came out, so I really wanted to see it. When I watched it, I cried from beginning to end. So I also voted for Everything Everywhere at Once. I hearted it, and I was like, if it doesn't win, I'm gonna cry, but that's okay. But it did win, and then I cried again because it happened.
Tears of happiness.
Tears of happiness.
Jean?
Yeah, well, I walked into the movie never having seen the trailer, not having any idea what it was going to be about, and so I walked out feeling a little disoriented. but I really enjoyed it, and I even saw it a second time, and I liked it even more that time, and so
Wow.
I'm happy that it won.
Yeah. And so what do you think about the ceremony as a whole and, maybe the future of the Oscars?
Good. Well, this was my first time watching the Oscars ceremony, so I have nothing to compare it to. But
Okay.
I enjoyed my time watching. Yeah.
It was fun.
I think it was the first time that I actually watched it beginning to end and actually enjoying it in a way, because the last time that I actually watched it was when Chris Rock got slapped.
So last
So that last year, and I was working at the same time. So I just hope that we'll have sort of better hosts in the future with some better plans for
audience interaction, maybe.
Yeah, I think improved audience interaction would be nice for next time. The Malala part was a little strange. The last time I had watched an Oscars was back in middle school, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed getting to do this again. I'm very happy that Michelle won Best Actress. I think that was spot on. Otherwise, I don't know. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your opinions. And
Thank you.
we'll see you next year.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully before then.
Hopefully, yeah.